Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. And today's episode is going to be called And Then There Was Light, because I will finally start to talk about how I overcame all of those bad things and all the bad ways that I was in. And we're going to get down to, how you can uh, use my experiences to better yourselves. That's the way that everyone pretty much learns is through experience, and you just collect information from random people on a daily basis, and then you add that information together, and then you experiment with the information that you learned, and then you incorporate new things into your life. That's how it works. So hopefully the information I give you guys can help you get to where you want to be. If you need any of this advice, then I hope that it reaches whoever needs it. So let's see. The first 6 episodes, if you're not familiar with the show yet, the first 6 episodes were me talking about all my darkness and all of the bad things that I was into, and everything that I used to do, and the way that my mind used to operate, and the importance I put on certain things, uh, whether it be bad musical taste, or movies or sports consuming my life, or worse things like hurting other people, or stealing, or even worse yet, being an addict and causing a lot of trauma, and ended up in jail. And I was overweight. I smoked cigarettes. I drank alcohol. I was addicted to painkillers mostly, but any kind of pharmaceutical would do for me. I didn't really care too much of what I would get high on, just as long as I was high, just as long as I was not sober and not facing reality. That's all I really cared about. And in that, sports took that away from me too, because then I could just worry about uh, becoming better athletically, or becoming a better coach, or focusing my energy on learning everything I could about the professional sports teams, or even college sports teams. And it was they're just different things that get you lost in this game called life. This game called the human race, because it is a race, but that's a different show. Uh, so what I want to talk about today is my weight loss, and how I was 276 pounds in 2012, and then by 30 days into my diet, I lost. Was cutting out sugary drinks, and I still drank things that were flavorful. I would drink, at the time, Gatorade G2 had just come out, and they were without sugar. So I would drink Gatorade G2, any kind of little juices, the little packets you put in your water bottles. I would drink those, uh, and instead of soda, or instead of anything else that that's sugary, that I was drinking milkshakes. Like I mentioned on the last episode, milkshakes were very big into me getting as big as I was, because I had always been on the skinny side, like not too skinny, but I was always more skinny than fat my whole life, and I was uh, athletic, but I wasn't very fast. I It was like my legs were like in quicksand, but my upper body was always in pretty good shape. It was always my legs that needed the work. So, I didn't work out or anything as a kid. I just was naturally talented, naturally athletic, just not overly with my legs. Like I said, I was kind of slow, I guess. And I really had to put in a lot of work on my legs through working out and running and strength training in order to get me to where I wanted to be, where I feel I am now, and how it made me feel a whole lot younger when I started working on my legs. But back when I was my biggest, I was a new father. So I stopped playing sports, and I was a drug addict still. So I wasn't putting the best things in my and I was working as a delivery driver, so I'm eating wings on a regular basis and French fries, drinking soda, and then when I'm done work, grabbing a milkshake from the store or from McDonald's or Wawa and drinking that, and just I was eating a bunch of junk and I was drinking a bunch of junk, and it showed. And I wasn't doing very physical work now. I mean, I was doing that delivery driver job and I was working at UPS as well overnight, but that wasn't all that much either. So, and it was only 4 hours, like maybe 3, 4 hours because it's only part-time overnight. So I wasn't burning off any of the food that I'm putting on anymore. I always ate poorly, but I always would burn it off because I was a landscaper, or I was always playing basketball or football or baseball, but I wasn't doing any of that anymore. And just sitting home all the time and just eating all the same stuff. So, that's how it goes. And then one day you're way bigger than you ever imagined, and you don't even know how you got there. But I mean, you obviously you got there. So what I had to do was I cut out all sugars, and I cut out all sugary drinks and sugary foods. So no more sweets, and especially just no more drinking sugars. And I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. And I got to tell you, I was a truck driver, an over the road truck driver at the time. So I wasn't burning energy still. I was still just sitting there all the time, and I would still eat fast food. I would stop at a McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. Now, I wouldn't necessarily overeat like I was, but I would still not eat the greatest, but it was the drinks. Getting rid of the sugary drinks is really what made me lose the weight. So 30 pounds in 30 days just from cutting out sugary drinks and still sitting down, no exercise, and still eating poorly. So, it's not that it's easy to lose weight because I was still 19, but the weight wants to come off of you once you want it to come off of you. So no matter what it is that's keeping you at your weight, if you put the right mindset towards losing the weight, you're going to lose weight. You're going to be, sometimes my girlfriend, she weighs herself all the time, and I'm like, there's no reason to do that, but she does. And she's all happy because she's like, oh, I ate so much and I'm still this weight. Well, that's because, spiritually you're losing the weight that way, or emotionally you're losing the weight, all that baggage, you're letting go of it, or mentally you're losing all that weight. You lose it, and we hold on to it, all these energies in different ways, and we don't really know that we're doing it, because it's not just food and drinks that weigh us down. It's a lot of spiritual and mental and emotional stuff that's weighing us down, and we don't know it. We eat our emotions away, and we become really big, and then we get depressed because we're really big, and that makes us want to eat more. And it's a cycle. And the last thing that your body wants you to do when you're big is to exercise. Or maybe you're older and your body is, you're going to say, no, I can't, I'm too old. I don't want to do, I'm too big, I can't, what am I going to do? I can't do all those exercises. Well, you got to do something. That's what the key is. You have to do something, and you have to do it every day. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're going to do a triathlon every day, but you have to have the mindset of, I'm going to make a healthier choice today than I did yesterday. Because that's what it's about. Life is about a series of choices. And these series of choices result in a certain path. So when you get to that path, or when you get to the end of the path, you can see like, oh, it was this choice and that choice and this choice. But when you're on it, you don't really see it that way. So, and before you start it, you don't see it that way. You just see the end result. You see the person at the gym who's huge, and it's intimidating for you. Or you see a woman who's really slim, and maybe she has real big leg muscles, and it's intimidating maybe for a woman or a man or whatever. You see someone that is in that good of shape, and it it kind of jars you, and you get intimidated because you think that that person's judging you. Now maybe they are, but no matter if they are or not, they didn't start out that way working out. No one starts out looking like that. You have to work towards it, and it's a lot of work to get that way, but anyone can get that way if they want to put in the work. And it's very symbolic of anything in life. Exercise is very symbolic of anything. If you have the will and the want, you can transform yourself at any time. It's difficult, and it takes a lot of work, and nothing shows the results better than someone who is a bodybuilder from being way overweight. So I was 276, and then last year at my peak I was probably like 180 or so. So it's about 100-pound difference. And it's not just like 180, like, oh, I lost and I got really skinny. Like way stronger than I ever was. And I was always pretty strong, but not like I am now, because I have a dense muscle mass from repeatedly lifting over and over. You build up. So, you'll hear people a lot of times that are trying to lose weight. They're going to say, oh, well, I don't want to get bigger. I don't want to put on the muscle mass because I'm already big and I don't want to become bigger. Well, that's not going to happen. I mean, you can become bigger if you're doing certain things. That is true. It can happen. If you're still eating a bunch of junk and then you're going and doing, all these really heavy exercises, then yeah, you're going to be bigger, but it's because you're eating the junk. But if you're eating healthy, what's going to happen is you're going to burn all those calories are going to go from being, dead energy inside of you to becoming used energy. And it's like a recycle center. Your body just starts recycling all the energy that you stored up. So that's why you get it off of you. So that's why, when you want it off and you're doing things spiritually, mentally, and emotionally to relieve yourself of your baggage, that's also going to release energy that's stored up in you. We have muscle memory from doing things, and it's the same way that karma works, really. But we just don't look at it that way. So if you're having bad relationship after bad relationship with a man or a woman, a mate that you're looking for, if you're having bad relationship after bad relationship, well, that's a lot of energy that's being held down in there. That's muscle memory. Okay, it's your brain's muscle memory. Your brain is holding down all that negative energy, and it's feeding into your body. So then what does that do to your body? Well, your body now all of a sudden wants to eat poor health items because your brain is getting messages of poor health. So then your body gets the message, okay, we want poor health. So then you get the urge to eat a bag of Cheetos or whatever. And then, that's something like that. That's an emotional thing because a bag of Cheetos might not be, or you can call it ice cream, you can call it whatever, however many calories it is, but it's not the physical part of it that's the problem. That's just a symptom that you see, but the actual problem is the relationship, the poor relationships over and over. So when you get rid of that baggage, then all of a sudden the eating of, because of those negative feelings, isn't there anymore, and then you're losing the weight because you're not wanting to eat anymore. And it's not even that the eating isn't the problem. It's not necessarily that you like the food. Your body is just receiving messages. It's DNA, it's mRNA. And I know everybody's up on their mRNA terminology right now and what that means and how it's messenger DNA, and it goes from place to place in your body, telling your body what to do. There are electrical signals that are sent from place to place, and it tells your body how to react. Well, that's what's happening when you're eating junk food because you're in a bad mood, because your brain has bad energy on it. So the message gets sent out, and then your body wants to eat bad, poorly. That's just the way it works. And it does whatever it can. And this is for anything, really. This is for addiction. This is for anger problems. This is for everything that I've learned, that the let's call it the ailment that we have. Let's say being overweight is an ailment, or being an addict is an ailment. Whatever ailment we have, it only survives. It's an energy that's in us, and it only survives in us if we feed it. So if we're not feeding it, then it dies, and it doesn't want to die. So it's going to trick you into feeding it all the time. So whether it be that you're eating food, poor food choices, or you're smoking cigarettes, you're drinking alcohol, you're doing drugs, you're doing anything, it gets its own energy because you put your so much thought and energy into it that it becomes a thing unto itself, to where it is now in control, or it is now not necessarily fully in control, but it is in control enough to sway you and influence you into doing things and living your life a certain way because of the energy that it has. Now, I want to keep it on weight loss here. I don't want to go over everything, but this topic covers everything, or this piece covers everything, because it's an energies, that we got to get rid of. And the best way to do that, honestly, is to eat foods that are very natural, things that aren't going to want to control things. It's the processed stuff, the processed foods, that make us addicted to them. The sugars, the salts, the spices. It's those things are addictive, just the same way that alcohol or drugs are addictive. And it's just that when you're in a more natural state, you'll see that your body doesn't want to hold on to anything. because those, so if you're eating natural foods, say you're eating chicken and vegetables and maybe some potatoes, okay, so, or rice, something light, okay. Let's say we're eating those things aren't going to store energy. They're not going to feed themselves necessarily, okay, because they're from God. They're a natural item from God, and you know, they serve God essentially. And then you have processed foods, processed sugars, even all your drugs that are addictive are all processed that way. You know, they're not naturally as addictive. Not that they aren't, but addictive, like the opium plant and the cocaine plant. But uh, they're not nearly as addictive as they are after they're processed. It's the processing that makes them think that they are worthy of controlling you rather than letting it go to God. You know, because that's what it essentially is, because there are energies that are holding on to feeding themselves. And by doing that, you're eating chips when you shouldn't be, because there's something inside you that wants to control you. And it's not that every single time you have a snack, that's what's happening. But when you're overweight, that is why, you know, that it's because it's an energy in you that is now taking control and making you feed it. So whatever the reason for that may be, you know, and it could come out as a thyroid issue. I know a lot of people, when they're bigger, you hear people say they have thyroid issues, or they have maybe Crohn's disease, or uh, any other, I guess, disease that affects your weight. But it's still an energy that you can get rid of by doing certain things. And exercise, no matter how hard it is, exercise is hard. Even for very athletic people, exercise is very hard. So someone who doesn't work out, or someone who's unathletic, you know, you look at like a professional athlete, and you're like, oh, well, their body's made to work out. Like, yeah, so is yours. They can do more with theirs because they've been practicing, but they still have to push themselves. That's how you get that way, is you push yourself. You find your limits and blow past them, and you keep breaking through to the next stage uh, by working harder. It is very hard, but it's very rewarding, which is why people work out so hard. You see people like The Rock, for example. He's huge. He wasn't always huge, and he's probably used supplements, sure, but uh, you know, you can't just inject something in yourself, or pop a few vitamins, or pills or whatever, and think that you're going to become bigger. You got to put in really hard work. So it takes hours and hours of really tough work to get to be as big, muscular as myself. I'm not even all that muscular anymore. You know, I haven't been working out because my environment changed when I moved, and things have been different. But I still exercise. My job is very physical, and uh, I get my exercise in that way, as well as doing stuff around the house. You know, I do a lot of physical tasks around the house, home improvements and stuff like that, chopping wood, moving big blocks, all different types of stuff. So I still do get a workout in when I can, but let's get into the working out part. So when I was my biggest, like I said, I became a truck driver, and I then was no longer eating or drinking the calories anymore. And then I was doing that for 13 months, and I think I lost about 45 or 50 pounds or so in total that 13 months, which is amazing, you know, as a truck driver. a cross-country truck driver, 13 months, and I lost about 50 pounds, 45, 50 pounds, something like that. And I didn't work out. But when I started working for Pepsi, again, it was a physical job. It was hard. I lost about 20 to 25 pounds working there. It might have been about a year and a half, the entire time I was there, but you could tell I lost all the real, fatty fat in that first 50 pounds. And then I was still, 220, 225, 230, whatever. So I'm still heavy, real heavy at the time. And then I worked my way down to like 200, 205, around there from working at Pepsi. So that was hard work. And you could see that it slimmed me down so that my face was just like about normal, about average, you would say, that I looked at that time. And so what also didn't help was I started back on the perks, and now I'm working at Pepsi. Then I start working at Cisco, and now I'm skinny again. And I'm taking perks, but I'm not eating as very much. So I got really skinny, and probably too skinny. I was probably down to like 160, something like that. Not before I was arrested, but I mean, not when I was arrested, but before I was arrested. So I was arrested in 2015. So this is probably 2014. Early 2014, I was very skinny. 2013, 2014, I was very skinny. And then I ended up putting on a little more weight, but, not all that much. So probably like 180 pounds, but not muscular at all. So, the weight I am now, I'm a very different body shape, even though the number may be approximately the same. It's the body shape and the body type is very different. And just everything about me in that sense is very different, because it was a lot of fat in my legs that was holding me down, that made me very slow and just lethargic, I guess. Not lethargic, because I always worked hard and I pushed myself as fast as I could, but I never worked out, like I said. So it wasn't until I started exercising that I lost the fat on my legs and simultaneously grew muscle in my legs and grew muscle in my upper body. So all the fat that I lost was replaced by muscle. So even though it's the same weight, of roughly the same weight, it's still transferred over that way. So, so when I started working out at the end of my jail stint, it was first just planks. I couldn't even do 7-second planks. I couldn't do one pull-up. I couldn't do like 10. I couldn't do one real push-up. I definitely couldn't do 10. I didn't know how to exercise at all. So I started out the bare minimum. I had a long way to go. And like I said, I just felt like I should be working out now. I just felt like I graduated to that point. So I started working out, and it hurts, and you got to fight through it because you're sore and you're not used to being sore. So it's very tough to get used to. But you can see after not very long of a time that you can beat it. You can get through it, because once the sore stops bothering you, then it's like a victory. Then you start getting that good burn. Then you're like, yeah, I'm burning, but I love it. And then you're like, I'm going to go tomorrow. And, because you're tight today, you got to loosen up. So you should do more exercise. So, the next day, when you wake up, you're going to be tighter from sleeping. So that's what happens. Your muscles contract when you're sleeping. And then you want to go extend them some more. So, but they're going to contract more. So you're going to be hurting more, the next day. But it's the repetitive nature that you get used to being sore and you loosen yourself up by actually exercising. So it's the last thing you want to do when you're sore is to exercise, but it's the best thing for you. So, I was doing jumping jacks, 50 jumping jacks, and I would do what's called supersets. So a set would be, for instance, 50 jumping jacks is a set. So what a superset would be like 50 jumping jacks, 7 seconds of a plank, 10 push-ups, and 10 curls. Okay, that would be a superset. So it's just a set of several different things, and you do all that together, and then that's one set. So that's why it's called a superset. So that's one set. Then you're going to do all that again. Then you're going to do 50 more jumping jacks, and you're going to do 7-second planks, and 10 push-ups and 10 curls, and you're going to do that 10 times. This is for me. This is how I push myself and it's not necessarily that I could even say I would get to the 10th time. I'm not able to do 10 push-ups at the end. I'm not able to do 10 curls at the end, but maybe I could do 2 or 3, whatever. I could get maybe 1, maybe I just do a opposite of a push-up, which is like a let down, which is you start up and then you slowly, as slow as you can, you go down, and then you try pushing yourself up from there. But at that point I was doing the letdowns because the push-ups I couldn't do. So it was just always pushing myself, and it was doing the supersets makes it easier than if I'm doing just curls, for example. If I do 10 curls, then I got to sit there and I'm doing nothing, but I'm waiting around for another 2-3 minutes so that I can do another set of 10 curls. But I'm wasting all that time in between, and I like to be efficient. So if I'm starting out doing 50 jumping jacks, like, okay, now I'm going to do something with my arms. So then I do the curls. Okay, now my legs are going to be more ready to go. So then I'll do 10 squats. And then it's going to be, okay, my arms are ready to go. So then I'm going to do 10 push-ups. Okay, now it's my whole body's ready to go again. So I'm going to do the 50 jumping jacks again to get the whole body going. And it's like that. You just target certain areas. You do little things to get you going. And you find your way. Just like with anything else, you find your way. I didn't have any trainers. I didn't one time do a class. I didn't have any friends that I worked out with. I just learned from observing everyone else at the gym, and even in jail at first. You just watch other people and see what they do and how they do it, and then you try it. And then I would, of course, watch videos on, like, oh, how can I target the back of my shoulders, and then I'm watching a video, so I'm going to go do that. So then maybe I see someone using the machine, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I already seen the video and I know how to do it. But then so doing the targeting stuff is really efficient. And so what I would do is, when I got my gym membership, so I worked out throughout all of the time that I was at the rehab and the halfway house, and then finally when I started living at home again with my parents and my daughter, I got a gym membership to Retro Fitness, and it was a really good gym to go to. They had everything I needed, machines, they had the weights, and it wasn't too packed, but it wasn't empty. So it was a good environment for me to get started at. And having the environment to go to is very important. So a lot of people that are just starting working out, they want to do it at home, but it's not very beneficial to do that, because when you go somewhere to do it, it's a whole different mindset. That you get yourself in this mindset that you're you're actually going somewhere to do this. So you're more likely to do it than if you're just sitting at home and you're feeling lazy. You're like, I don't feel like going in the living room to do it, so I'm just going to slink down and watch TV. But if you're like, you know what, I'm tired, but it feels good when I work out, so I'm going to go to the gym anyway. So then, or what, you go outside, maybe you have a little workout thing outside of your house, maybe you have a little local track, high school track that you can go to. That's what I did during Corona last summer after the gym shut down. Is I went to my local track. I bought one dumbbell, a 30-pound dumbbell from Walmart. It's about $1 a pound for dumbbells. And I just did all of my exercises with that one dumbbell. I did every arm exercise that I could, every leg exercise that I could, even I would do Russian twists, and I would do all sorts of different things, core exercises with it. And I would do pull-ups on the field goal post or the soccer net post, you know, and there was a large tire there that the football players would use to work out with, and you just flip the tire, and I would do that. You just got to really be creative and how and what you can do, because you don't necessarily need to spend any money to work out. You don't need any professional uh, trainer. Now, I mean, yeah, does it make it easier if you have a trainer and they're right there working one-on-one with you? Does that make things easier? Yes, obviously. It's like having, I was doing it, Google and stuff, or YouTube and stuff, right? So it's like having that with you as a person who's going to motivate you, and they're going to see what you're doing wrong. So that's where it's probably the most beneficial to have someone else, is you need someone there to observe you, to correct what you're doing wrong. And it might be a month of you're doing your curls, and then you start to notice that your right arm is bigger in one spot than your left arm, and it's like, well, your form is off, and you didn't have anyone there correcting your form for that entire month. So what I did was I was just very strict on my form, not so much on how much weight, because as a guy, especially, probably with women too, I'd say, you get very competitive, and you want to be, oh, I want to be big and strong. I want to show all these guys in here that I can curl more than them, even though they're bigger than me. They've been coming here longer. I can curl more than they could. And I was curling uh, a dumbbell or barbell that you would bench press, like 135 pounds. I could curl two hands at one point. So I did get really big doing that stuff. But before you can work on the heavy stuff, the heavy lifting, you have to do all the form. You have to make sure that you're building the foundation properly, just like with anything else, a relationship, a new job, anything. You want to start with the foundation. You got to start somewhere. You have to have it correct from the get, so that you're building onto a strong foundation. You're not building on something that's weak and going to fall apart right away. It's important that you have good form. But again, it's not all that difficult to do it yourself. You just have to be honest with yourself in your criticism of yourself. Just like with anything that you're trying to better yourself at, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be open to criticism. And then when you're off on something, then you got to, do another one. And it's when you're not honest with yourself, you're only going to hurt yourself. If you set out to do 10 push-ups, right, and the first 8 you do good ones, and then the last 2 you do bad ones, and you let yourself get away with that, well, okay, that's only going to hurt you. It's not necessarily like I'm saying that you suck for not being able to get 10, but maybe you tried to do the 10, you did 8, and then the last 2 were subpar. So you know what? give a 30-second, 60-second rest, and do 2 more regular ones, 2 more good ones, because that's the right thing to do. So when you have that type of attitude, you're going to better yourself, and you don't need anyone else. You don't need to spend any additional money. You don't even need to go to a gym. You don't need to buy any equipment. That's just those things are there to make things easier for you. But you can, if you have somewhere, walking down the street that you can do pull-ups on, a swing set, a basketball net, maybe. You have something you can do pull-ups on. You can do push-ups anywhere. You can do 6 inches anywhere. You can do flutter kicks anywhere. You can do butterfly kicks anywhere. You can do these easy workouts anywhere, and that it will get you. It'll get you exactly where you want to be. It might take a little bit longer, but you're also building the muscle in a more defined tone and a more deeper nature. When it takes you doing push-ups to get really big, rather than using a weight system, a weight bar, you're going to be denser, because it took a lot more to get there. Obviously it's different, and it doesn't really matter how you get there. And it's not even about the looks. Now it does become about the looks for yourself, because you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm pretty chiseled out, like I got the fat off of me, and then you start targeting different areas, like maybe the bottom of your belly button, right under your belly button, or maybe your back, or maybe like the bottom of your butt, maybe right under your breast as well, anything like that. Maybe you want to start targeting those areas, because you can see that you're chiseled out. You can see the muscles, the muscle outline, basically, and you can see different parts that you want to start focusing in on. So that's good. You want to start competing, but not against anyone else. You want to compete with yourself. You want to do more of the exercise today than you did yesterday or last week or whenever the last time it was that you did it. Just like with anything else, you want to better yourself every single time you do it. So I do maybe 50 push-ups today. Well, tomorrow, can I do 51? And you just keep pushing yourself that way. And maybe I can. Maybe tomorrow I can only do 46. And that's no big deal. Then, the next day I want to go for 47, because it's not necessarily that I have to beat my all-time best every single time, but I just want to beat yesterday. But if I don't beat yesterday, that's okay, because I know I'm giving it my all, and I'm not going to just stop short of my goal. If I can meet my goal, I'm going to meet it. If I can exceed my goal, I'm going to exceed it. That's the type of mentality that you have to have. And that's for anything, but that for weight loss and exercise specifically. If you cut out all of the fatty processed foods, the sugar foods, drinks especially, don't put sugar in your coffee at all, just get creamer. There's some very good creamers out there that you don't even necessarily need a creamer that has sugar in it. For a while, I went sans sugar for everything. I didn't have anything of sugar for probably like 3 months. It was hard, and you have to read ingredients and all that. But I went black coffee, and I'm glad that I don't do that anymore. I just do regular creamer. But that's how I push myself. And in another episode, I'll get to where I talk about giving up things for a certain period of time, how that is very good for you to do often with everything, is so you're not enslaved to anything like food addictions, for example. So I'll get into that uh, at another time, but it is a very good practice to give up what we enjoy most to see if we're enjoying it too much. So food, maybe you got a favorite snack. For me, it was extra toasty Cheez-Its, and it was hard for me to give them up. And this is after I was working out. While I was working out, I still had those extra toasty Cheez-Its. I could eat a whole family-sized box in one night, and it wouldn't really it wouldn't make a difference in what I looked like because I was working out so hard. Now I was running in the sun, sweating, for an hour and a half every single day. I'm out there running in the sun and I'm working out. I'm getting in all this vitamin D. I'm meditating. I'm letting go of all the negative energies. It was such good energy that was going into me last year. It didn't matter that I could eat a full box, a family-sized box of extra toasty Cheez-Its, and it didn't make me gain any weight. But I also did have to give up the extra toasty Cheez-Its because I had a problem with them. Because once I started eating them, I didn't want to stop, and that's a problem. So we get that even with knowing what I know, and even while, in the prime of my physical appearance, I was doing stuff like that. So it's very difficult. And I'm not saying that that any of this is easy, but it's just all your mindset, because the longer you go without something, the easier it is to keep it away. Like when I'm not drinking sugary drinks, nowadays I drink coffee with creamer every morning, but I gave that up for a while as well. But I drink coffee, like coffee altogether, I gave up for a while. I'll get into that, but I gave up coffee, or all I drink now is coffee and creamer in the morning, and I have water the rest of the day, every day. That's all I drink. That's it. I mean, there'll be once every few months, there might be one day where I drink a few glasses of high C or Hawaiian punch or whatever flavored juice that is in the house that has sugar in it. Once every few months, I might have a glass of it. And once I have one glass of it in a day, I'm like, oh, that was good. I want some more. And then I'll have like maybe two or three of it throughout the entire day. But then I'm not drinking it again for months and months, and I don't think about it. But and that's a microcosm of how it works. Is it's much easier the next day when it's not fresh, but that day after drinking it, it's like I want more. That's just how it goes. Is when you have it, you want it more, but when you don't have it, you don't think about it very often. So, and there's going to be things that you think about quite often that you need to not think about. You need to get over eventually. If you're eating a certain snack every day at a certain time, or that's actually is better. It doesn't even need to be a certain snack, but if you're eating at a certain time every day, that's going to be something hard to overcome. But you can still do it because all you realize all it is a mental thing. I did this through my use of intermittent fasting. Is I realized that they tell us we should eat 3 times a day and have a snack, 2 or 3 times a day. It's just drilled into us over and over, and the food pyramid and all that nonsense. Well, our ancestors ate like 7 times a week, 10 times a week. They would just eat a lot at one sitting, and then they wouldn't eat. And I started doing it that way. And then I learned that there's all these different health benefits to intermittent fasting, and how your body only has a certain amount of I don't know exactly what it is. I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but your body can only work a certain amount of time. So when you're putting too much food in your body, when you're eating too many times and you're making your body work all the time, it starts to shut down because it's working too much, it's working too hard. So you want to eat less. And what happens with that, with the beginning of intermittent fasting, is you start to get hangry. You start to, so if the way that I did it is I went from breakfast, lunch, and dinner to I cut out lunch first. Or no, I'm sorry, I cut out breakfast first. So I cut breakfast out, and I used to wake up probably 3 in the morning. So, by 11 in the morning, I'm very hungry. So I get hangry. So then, I would have some beef jerky, because I worked at this time that I'm talking about. I worked for a vending machine company, and we used to fill the machines with beef jerky, and we could have snacks off the truck. So I would have beef jerky for lunch, or a bag of nuts or something like that. I would eat a few of them, maybe, to hold me over to dinner time, where I would then have a lot of dinner, and I wouldn't have a snack after. But what started happening was I was, at a point, it made me start to become hangry, because the beef jerky or nuts or whatever wasn't enough. And you just got to fight through that. It's going to take a few weeks. But then you start to realize that you don't need to have food, that you can take control of yourself, that you don't need to allow your emotions to best you because of your ability or your hunger. Your lack of eating shouldn't be what determines what mood you're in. So, you just have to learn how to live while being hungry, and it's okay. Like, it's to know that you're okay to skip a meal, because it becomes a very big anxiety thing for people. It's certain people, anyway, I want to say, that they start to rely on eating at certain times, and they start to get anxiety if they don't eat at a certain time. So, or maybe not a certain time, but just a certain meal around a certain time. Today it might be 5, tomorrow it might be 6, but it's still in that time frame that you're like, oh, I gotta eat. But then you start to realize that the hunger will subside and the hangriness will subside. And you start to become used to it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I feel better. As soon as you start doing it, you feel better, and you start to lose weight, because your body starts eating all that leftover energy, all that stored energy that you have. All the fat around your stomach and all that's going to start dissipating, because your body's going to start eating. It's going to start pulling it back into itself, because it needs the energy, and the energy is right there, but that's stored energy. So it doesn't want to use that energy unless it doesn't have anything else. So say when I stopped eating lunch, so then I went from breakfast, lunch, and dinner to just lunch, that light lunch and a huge dinner, to then just a huge dinner, which was, pretty much 2 dinners. It ended up being that I would eat, just like an hour apart. I'd say over the course of like an hour and a half to 2 hours, I would eat 2 large meals, pretty much. Now what that did, that kept me full, and that kept my stomach only working at a certain time. And so once I got used to that, then it became a snap. It became a breeze. Okay, but to get there, I had to replace what I was eating at lunchtime. So then I started replacing it with mints. Just having a flavor in my mouth, sucking on a mint, became, the placebo effect for me being hungry. So, you just trick yourself. And once you know that you're hangry and you can stop being hangry, because you're like, oh, let me take control of myself, you pop a mint, then your hunger subsides. And you see, like 2 to 3 hours later, I'm used to eating something at 11, so now it's 2, and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. And so I pop in a mint, and then it's like all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock, and I'm cooking dinner, and I'm all right. I didn't eat anything else, but I was starving. I felt like I was starving, because my body started you know, grumbling and making noises. But that's just your stomach just pulling food from the reserves. It's not really that you're hungry. It's pulling from the reserves. So once you just, it's basically digesting undigested food. So once you allow it to do its thing, then you see that you're all right. Then it would become easy. You know, so once this was a whole process that I'm going through, but it would become easy to fast for 24 hours or 36 hours, because then my body isn't reacting. Uh, you know, I would get those little hunger pangs for a minute, but then once I realized that it's just my body digesting itself, uh, it was like, okay, I didn't need to eat. And I mean, there was a time where I felt like, man, I could probably not eat for like a week or 10 days and I'd be okay, you know, just drinking water. Because once you get to a certain point, you don't need the external energy. Now it's a practice and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to get there. But there are people who live their lives that way. And it's not like you lose, you know, you don't become anemic or anorexic or bulimic. You know, you're not super skinny. You're still the same way, and you're still exercising a lot. And it's like, where do you get the energy to exercise? It's, you know, you're getting it from the foods that you're eating. When you eat them, you're getting it from the energies that you're allowing in your energy field. You know, are you meditating, or are you arguing with people all the time? You know, what type of energies are you allowing in? Are you having external energies that are influencing you, or are you just uh, you know, living on your own accord? So it's very possible to do all those things, and you can see anyone, you know, at any time who's ripped, and they'll give you all their advice, and they'll tell you exactly what they did to get big and how you can do it, or how you could get cut. And you're like, oh man, well, you know, this guy looks like he's been working out for a long time, and now he's just trying to sell me something, which probably, yeah, probably is that. But until you find what works for you, you know, like my girlfriend, hopefully I interview her within a few episodes here, and maybe she can talk about her keto, because she lost a lot of weight using keto, which I never tried keto, but I didn't really need to. I found my way, but by trying so many other ways. But if she would have tried it my way, you know, she didn't. She's not one to exercise the way that I did. So, you know, we both reached our goals in very different ways. So, if what I'm telling you doesn't work for you, then, you know, I suggest that you try someone else's way. But, you know, for the basics, if you're just cutting out sugar as much as you can, if you're cutting out the snacking as much as you can, which, let's face it, the sugary drinks don't ever need to be consumed, and the snacking doesn't ever need to be consumed either. It's just our choice of wanting. So if you can just stop wanting those two things, you will start losing a lot of weight. And now maybe someone like me can lose 30 pounds in a month as a 19-year-old, while, or a 22-year-old as a truck driver. And maybe you're 47 with 3 kids, and that's just not enough for you. Well, you're going to have to burn some calories then. You know, you're going to have other dietary, maybe supplements, but dietary choices to make. So, but you have to burn the calories, and you can do any of it at home. You can do, like I said, you can do the letdowns. I couldn't do one real push-up. I couldn't do one real pull-up. I couldn't do a plank for 7 seconds. So what was I doing at my peak? I could plank for 2+ minutes, I would just stop at 2 minutes. I was doing 120 pull-ups in 10 minutes. I do a set of 10, 12 sets of 10, or 5 sets of 20. Or 6 sets of 20, I mean. I could do within 10 minutes. I would wait 1 minute in between sets, and 10 minutes, and I would do 120 pull-ups. And I started doing, I couldn't do one. I could not do. Hello, everybody. I hope that, I don't know what, can turn that on, please? Hon? Mimi, the light. Sorry, I'm never going to have any peace ever in any of my episodes because I have 6 people and 6 dogs, and I can never get any peace. No one can ever just leave me alone while I do any of this. So that's just something that is, unfortunately, it's going to have to be dealt with for now anyway, until I can get somewhere where I can do this uninterrupted. But like I was saying, I don't know what happened, if the recording stopped. I don't know. It just cut out on me. So hopefully everything's all right with it. Yeah, but I don't even know where it cut me off at. So I was saying about the push-ups and pull-ups. You just got to keep applying yourself. Just keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. And eventually you're going to get there. And you cut out the sugary drinks, you cut out the snacks, and eventually you're going to try intermittent fasting. And well, I mean, you're not going to, but if you do, you're going to notice that you get a bump in energy, but you will get a bump in, being hangry, but it's okay. You just got to keep going through it. And, just keep on pushing yourself. Don't let anybody tell you that there's one specific way to do it, because there isn't one specific way to do it. There's so many different ways to do so many different things. So don't let anybody tell you that you can only do something their way. Because like I was saying, it's probably a BS ad. I mean, what they're selling you did probably work for them, but that was not what they were doing the entire time to get that way. So, if I don't really have any supplements that I was ever taking, so I don't have anything to recommend as far as supplements go, other than protein powder that I was doing. You want to have things that are high in protein and low in sugar, and that'll be a good jumping off point. So I think that's probably it for the episode. I hope that everybody listening enjoyed this episode. It's going to be called "And Then There Was Light," as it's the first story of goodness overcoming darkness. Oh, and I did want to say that I set a silly goal for myself when I was 26 and I started working out. I said, maybe I was 27 by the time I set the goal, but I said by the time I'm 30, I wanted to look like a statue of a Greek god. Just some silly little thing that I told people, or that I told myself mostly. And it was just a little motivator to keep me going. And so by the time 30 got closer and I was doing all this intermittent fasting and full fasting, and by the time I was 30, my 30th birthday, I was really chiseled out. I had almost had a six pack, and I was looked really good. And then last year I put on a lot more muscle mass, and now this year I'm not really working out, but I have the frame from the last 5 years of hard exercise built me a good frame. So I don't need to go as hard anymore. If I did, then I would look like an athlete, like I looked last year and the year before. But you set a goal like that for yourself, a far off goal that you keep in the back of your mind. And every time, someone asks you like, well, what's your end game? You're like, I want to look like Madonna from 1994 music video or whatever. I don't know. I just randomly said something. But you just make any kind of goal and you set it, and then that'll be it. You just keep that in your mind and keep going. So I guess that's all that I wanted to talk about. Now this episode's longer than all the rest, and here I thought that I wasn't going to have an hour's worth of content, and I went an hour 20, an hour 30, something like that. I just hope that it's all in the recording, even though Zoom lied me out. We'll see how that goes. All right. So if anyone wants to get in contact with me, check out the website firstly, which I said incorrectly in the last episode. I said mytinyurl.com, but it is just tinyurl.com/goodness-over-darkness. So that's the website. You can find all my episodes there. You can, on the right-hand side, if you're on a computer, on the right-hand side, you'll see links to my Facebook page, which Godcast, Goodness Over Darkness podcast, has its own Facebook page. And you can also look at my YouTube channel, which I can't stream live to yet. I don't know. I have to wait for some kind of code or something. So I'm waiting on that, and I'll be uploading some podcasts there. I'm just not sure how to do it all yet. This is all very new to me. I'm not technically sound at all, and this is all coming as a learning experience for me. So I appreciate the patience and bearing with all the audio issues and all the dogs barking and people coming in and out and blah, 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 all that stuff. So thank you for bearing with me. But if you want to get in contact with me to share your story, whether it's weight loss or drug addiction or spiritual awakening or anything else, you can email me. The email address is the Great Chakra Awakening 777@gmail.com. The Great Chakra Awakening 777@gmail.com. And also to my podcast website, there's two websites to go to. The other one is the Great Chakra Awakening 777.podbean.com. in addition to tinyurl.com/goodness-over-darkness. And even if your weight loss story may be similar to mine here today, and you still want to share, you can send me an email. We can talk it up. You can be on the show. You can, be interviewed by me. and you can share your story, or you can just send me the email and I can read it off. Maybe you're not comfortable with going on air, but you think that your testimony might help. Go ahead, send me an email. All right, I don't think that I have anything else today. No, I guess that's it. All right, well, thank you everybody for coming on by, and I hope that you have a good day. All right, bye.